Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and today I'm going to talk about Headliner NoviNews. So, a description for this game is award-winning adventure where you control the news and impact society, your friends, and your career. Different choices lead to unique combinations of endings. Share your story with the community and see what other players did. And to expound a little bit on this description, this is in a sense a sequel to Headliner, except I would say it's more of a sequel in the Emily is Away to Emily is Away 2 sense, in that it's a very, very similar game but with new things added and updated and stuff like that. So it's not like part 1 impacts part 2 necessarily, but same world, that sort of stuff. So yeah, just with that in mind for the description. Now, production. This was developed by Unbound Creations, who are known for Headliner, the first game of this, which also I did do a podcast episode on a couple months back, so if you're interested in more Headliner, check that out. And then also they have a game, their newest game is called Fulfillment, which I believe is like an Amazon warehouse sim type game. And then the last real notable thing about the game before getting into it is this was a part of the itch.io Racial Justice and Equality Bundle from earlier this year. And yeah, so I think along with that, if you have that bundle, I'd recommend checking this game out if you're interested. And also, if you have other games from that bundle you think would be good for us to check out, I'd love to hear that. Just, having a whole bunch of games, I figure this is a good well to pull from in that regard. So if you have suggestions, I'd love them. I'm just kind of playing these on the side as I do, so that would be cool. And I guess also, if you think that games from the bundle aren't worth doing, that would be valuable info too, because right now I'm kind of planning on doing that, but if people were like, none of us bought this bundle, we, whatever, that kind of thing, that would be useful info too. So whatever you got there, that'd be cool. Alright, we'll move into the recap. So day 1 starts, you meet your boss, you create your character, so you create your character. So with this, you can choose their gender, and then there's 6 kind of main character types. So 3 male and 3 female character types, and then they have different styles which could affect the clothes they're wearing or their skin tone, different things like that. So you've got an okay amount of customization abilities on this. For mine, I made my character's name Brody Holloway, after Brody from Life is Strange 2, who was a journalist, and I made a character that kind of looked like him. So, just kind of a fun thing. So, he was a dude with a beard and wearing a hoodie, stuff like that. So, that's what my guy looked like. But, so custom your character, then you start your job, you meet your boss, who tells you, here's your, important job. Each day you'll be given articles to approve or deny, whether putting them into circulation, and that's it. So, went, did that, approved and denied some articles. After that, you walk home, and when you walk home down the street, you see how the news impacted the people around you. And so, you might put something, a thing that's big in this world is mods. So everyone's genetically modified, or lots of people are, not everyone is, but a lot of people are. I think in the first Headliner episode, alluded to that it's kind of like Gattaca, where it's like people are modified, and so people who are modified are kind of viewed as higher. They're not normal with their regular genes that can hinder them, but they've got these mods that make their genes better or can make them look different or that sort of stuff. So, for instance, if you run an article that's really pro-modification, then while you're walking down the street, you might hear people saying, oh, modifications are great. Everyone should have modifications. Or if you didn't, you might see people talking about like, yeah, modifications is awful. Why are people doing this? Like that sort of thing. And, can escalate further either way, pro or against something. But on the walk home, you meet a couple characters. So just outside of the office, you meet Evie, who's a coworker. She's one of the journalists. She's the foreign correspondent for your newspaper. So you can talk to her and get to know her and talk about work and stuff like that. You also can talk to your brother named Justin. On the way, he's hanging out at a bar. He is an aspiring comedian. So he's your older brother, but he's kind of, I would say, more of a creative type who wants to pursue his dream. And so you can be supportive of him in that, or you could be like not supportive and be like, just get a regular job, man. So those are sort of your options there. And then lastly, you can talk to Rudy, who owns a local grocery store on the way home. And you can talk to him about how things are going with business, different things like that. So an early conversation I had with him, for instance, was I put an article out talking about how our country should be welcoming to other countries and other cultures around us. And he said something like, I think you're right about welcoming other cultures, but, this is allowing foreign businesses to come in and set something up. Now there's a supermarket opening up down the street, and I'm worried that's going to push me out. So those are sort of your options for how the people you interact with can go and who you meet. So that's day one. Then you go home and you go to sleep. Oh, also they introduced a money component to it. So you get paid each day, and it seems like this would set it up as a potential where you could potentially lose money, but also you can buy things along the way. So when I met Rudy for the first time, I bought a houseplant from his store because it said like, oh, this is good for when guests come over or something like that. It'll make them like you. And it was one of the cheaper things, so I bought that because I didn't want to spend all my money too soon because I didn't know how the money system worked. So I did that. Day two, same thing as before. You approve and deny stories. On the way home, I talked with Evie and with Justin. So with Evie, I think just kind of becoming more friends with friends. Find out that she is from a nearby country called Lyrian, I think, or Lyrian. She's from a nearby country, and so she's actually here on a work visa and is a little concerned about the state of our country. Just that there are some people who are anti her country. The president or prime minister, I think it's the prime minister of this country, is anti her country, so she's a little concerned about that. Says sometimes strangers are mean to her. And I tried to just affirm her as a person and stuff. And then also I talked with Justin. He's got a big comedy show coming up soon. He's nervous about it, but he's excited about it. And I just encouraged him and was like, pursue your dream. This is cool that you want to do this kind of thing. And he's a little nervous. And also does seem to have some type of anxiety, medical-wise. Like he mentioned to that, like clinical anxiety. So we did talk some about that, and I talked about, trying to get medication or seeing a social worker kind of thing for him. All right, moving on to day three. Again, the same thing, standard approve and deny stories, nothing new there. I talk with Evie again outside of work, and we make plans to get coffee the next day. And she's like, oh, we don't want the bus, like, seeing us chatting outside of work on my smoke break. Like, let's just go hang out. And I was like, all right, cool. That sounds good. And then the last really major thing that happened that day was on the way home, a mysterious man approaches me in a trench coat and talks about fear and sickness. And he's like, the things that are going on right now, like, this is what they want you to believe. You shouldn't trust them. Keep your eyes open, Brody, kind of thing. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I headed home. Day four, a new mechanic gets introduced into your articles. which you have two sets of stories that are either or. So they're stapled together, and if you approve one, that automatically means you deny the other. So these can range in what the pro, or some of them are pro-con, so pro our government or anti our government. Some are that way, but others can be things like, here's 2 articles you might not want to publish, but you have to publish one, or 2 articles you might want to publish, but you can only publish one. So that's sort of how this mechanic is introduced. There's also a note in my in my pile of articles to approve or deny that says you control the news, but they control you. So that was a little ominous feeling. After this, I went and I got coffee with Evie. That was good. Felt like a relationship between her and Brody were forming more. Positive interaction. And then on the way home, a group of people just jumped off buildings in unison and dying. So that was pretty crazy. Kind of uncertain where that came from, but it was certainly a shocker. The next day, a bunch of negative stories are presented as options, blaming a variety of things, whether it's blaming the mods and saying faulty mods caused these people to jump off the buildings, or there's a new soft drink that I'd been advertising before this called Better Buzz, which is this form of alcohol that's supposedly better for you. They say, it doesn't give you a hangover, and it's like not as harsh on your body or something as alcohol. So this product, Better Buzz, is making a big comeback. Is a new product that people are excited about. Part of me made me wonder if it was kind of like a Four Loko, where it's like energy and alcohol. I'm not sure. That's just what I kind of imagined. But the previous couple days, I'd been, being positive about Better Buzz. There were several articles that are like, what's Better Buzz? Well, it's exciting, like that kind of thing. And so I posted those because they seem sort of harmless. But at this point, there was an option to put a negative Better Buzz article out about Better Buzz caused these people to jump off the buildings. But I chose not to do that just because we didn't really know enough to blame anyone. I think the newspaper kind of wanted you to blame someone, but I chose not to because we didn't really know. My boss also did say that Better Buzz liked that they were a sponsor of ours now. They liked that we were talking positively about them. So I was like, well, I don't want to really mess that sponsorship up, especially if we don't know that Better Buzz is, caused this. And then also after this, on the way home, the mysterious man from a few days ago tells me that forces are working and that a special article is coming to us tomorrow, and that if we publish it, that would be a big deal, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll keep my lookout on it. And then the next day, I come in, and this one instead had a rule of you could publish 3 articles maximum. So a different kind of hold there, and what do you want to publish or not publish. I ultimately decided to use the mystery person's article. It was something negative about the government. I forget what it was, but the government leader has been really anti-liaison and stuff like that. And so I used the mysterious man's article. I think it was about how the prime minister is divisive, I think. So I used that. After this, on my walk home, a government agent came to me and said, you need to be more pro-government or there will be consequences. And I was like, all right, cool. And that was that. Next up, on day 7, the requirements were that I had to approve 2 articles out of the batch, which I believe that these included articles I wouldn't want to publish, and so I had to take stands on things I maybe didn't want to, if if I'm remembering right. After this, I talked with Evie on the walk home, and we made plans to see Justin's show. His comedy show is coming up tomorrow, and so I invited her to go, and she said yes. After this, I talked with Justin, who wants us to run an article about his comedy show the next day, and I told him I'd think about it. After this, day 8 comes, and Evie's doing well at work. You see her in a meeting with you before, and the boss says that she was doing a good job, but then the boss also says that we should be more positive about the government. Because up until this point, I've been pretty negative. The Mystery Man's article was negative. That was kind of the route I went. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. From here, after work, you go to Justin's comedy show. That was good. He was funny. I didn't run his article as I had run. After running the Mystery Man's article, the boss said, hey, don't use third-party articles. Only use ours. This is your only warning. Or this is your last warning kind of thing. And I was like, all right, I don't want to get in trouble. So I didn't. So Justin's comedy show, it goes pretty well. He was funny. People laughed. But also it wasn't a packed house because I didn't advertise it. Afterwards, I talked with Evie. She had fun hanging out and was glad I invited her to the comedy show. Then I planned with Justin to go to the bar the next day, and he was excited about how the show went as well. Day 9, the boss comes and says that the government is mad at us because of what we're saying in NoviNews, but he's reasonably supportive. He's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't say what you're saying, but I'm not going to stop you. It's kind of the vibe. But he also said that Butterbuzz is happy with us. Happy enough that he gives me a bonus of $200, which each day you get paid $50. So to get a bonus like that was big. He said, Butterbuzz is happy. They're doing well because I've continued to be positive with Butterbuzz, and so it's like, all right, I'll probably keep doing that. On the way home, I talked with Evie. I also talked with Justin at the bar. Both good, moving forward with those relationships. After this, I run into the mysterious man on the street who says to meet tomorrow and he'll reveal everything. That just meet at a nearby restaurant and we'll meet in the basement and talk. I said, okay, sounds good. And then on the way home, a bombing happens and a bunch of buildings are exploded. So that was pretty insane. Day 10, work is as usual. Talk with Evie on the way home, and we make plans to get coffee tomorrow. After this, I go and meet the mysterious people, and they tell me that the government is sabotaging the mods of the Lyrians. So the government has set up faulty mods in the Lyrians because they don't like them, and so the mods are self-destructing kind of on their own and making the people they don't like sick, which of course is a huge reveal. Also, from a personal note, this because Evie is Lyrian and she also does have some problems with her mods where it's making her sick, but she has been able to continue getting the medicine and stuff she needs. So she's doing okay, but that she can be sick or would be sick. So hearing this from the mystery people felt fairly convincing. I didn't go for their bait. I kept kind of giving the middle ground answer. They were like, yeah, you have a right to be skeptical, and then they'd provide more info kind of thing. Day 11, go into work, and at the start of your day, your boss is arrested. You find out that he was taken out because of the paper's anti-government stance. The National Ministry of Information gives the agent I met on the street earlier as the new boss and says, you need to start being more pro-government. Of course, at this point, I said, no. fuck that, I'm not doing that. So I published the article from the mysterious people saying the government was sabotaging the mods on purpose. When I left work, there were huge riots everywhere in response to the article, saying, Liaisons are people too, our government is oppressive, they're sabotaging us, they want to kill us. It's crazy. People are like throwing shit, there's fires, people demonstrating everywhere. It's pretty nuts. On the way home, I also run into Justin, who is drunk out of his mind. He's like, all his words are slurred, and he's like, oh, the government's bad, but he's also just like real wasted. And this was the first time where I kind of wondered about the Better Buzz, as he was really fucked up. On the way home, you do see people puking over the last few days in the streets, but I don't know. Part of me kind of felt like, well, that's what people are like with alcohol anyway, so like, how different is this or isn't it? But when Justin was messed up, I was like, you seem a little wild. Next up is day 12. Do my work. The agent is, of course, mad at me for running that article. But doesn't fire me or anything. So I work. I do that. On the way home, I talk with Evie again at the coffee shop. Conversation's good, and then at the end of our conversation, she says, I'm looking forward to spending more intimate time together. So Birdie's like, all right, sounds good. Also on the way home, the Prime Minister is giving a speech in the public square, and a drone is hacked and it kills him in front of everyone, and everyone flees as chaos feels like it's erupting. That was pretty nuts. And then after this, a little further, walking down the street, the mysterious man from the other day says, you've done a good service for your country. Thank you for telling the truth. And I'm like, all right, yeah, thanks for the info. Day 13, work as normal. Pretty insane that the Prime Minister got killed. The agent isn't happy, but doesn't give a lot of direction. On the way home, I talk with Evie. And she says, well, I'll be over tonight. See you later. And so I walk home. There's still demonstrations, stuff like that going on. Once you get to your house, Evie is there. And you talk for a second and then turn off the light. And she says, and hook up. Day 14. I go into the office and the agent says, your anti-government stance has gotten you fired. We are replacing you. You're no longer a good fit. Run your last few articles today, and it's your last day. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I ran a bunch of anti-government articles because I figured, why not? This is my last day. I did that, and game over. So at the end, it gives you like a brief summary of how the game went for you. So mine says this. I watched the city burn. I was there for my brother when he needed me. I found love. I convinced my shopkeeper to sell out. And I became filthy rich. So I guess going back through those, the rioting, I think that is probably where the city burning comes into play. I was there when my brother needed me. So for this one, I was supportive of him throughout. So after his comedy show, I encouraged him, and then he wanted to go to a comedy festival at a nearby place, and I was like, yeah, you should go. I believe in you. So there was that. I found love with Evie. As we saw, relationship kind of moved forward beyond coworkers to ultimately her staying over, and then convinced my shopkeeper to sell out. This one I didn't really do because I didn't talk to Rudy much beyond the first few days. But what happens to Rudy is after a little while, he has to change his store from a local grocery store to a store that sells Better Buzz because they offer him a bunch of money and are like, hey, do you want to be a Better Buzz official seller instead? And so he ends up agreeing so that he can be a store. So for that one, I felt like I was a little less involved with it, but yeah, that is what happened for him. And then last, I became filthy rich, which I don't know if this happened because I didn't spend any of my money, pretty much. Like, I think I had $800 at the end, but I got paid $50 each day. I never spent it, and I got the $200 bonus. So I don't know what becomes the threshold for that, but I'm thinking that being pro Better Buzz maybe is why that happened, because I got that bonus. But I would say, kind of all in all, looking at that as my ending, I feel pretty satisfied. At the end, it introduces a new character who's a cop who can be involved in your subsequent playthroughs, which I didn't do another playthrough. I felt like at the end of this, I felt pretty satisfied. It was like, Brody got a girlfriend. That seems like a plus. You had a good relationship with your brother. You made money and didn't get fired early. That's probably a plus. And you also got to, I mean, it wasn't good the prime minister got killed, but it was good that he wasn't the leader anymore, as he was antagonizing the nearby countries and blaming foreigners and stuff. So I was fine being anti-him because his regime was bad, in my opinion. So your city burning and stuff like that isn't good, but I'm not sure that this game has ones where stuff like that doesn't happen. I imagine if you went a really pro-government stance, there would still be things like that happening, or maybe someone would try to kill you or something. So that is the game. Last up, just wanted to do a couple general thoughts. So first one is I liked the general stuff from game 1 to this one. So like I like the music throughout the game. I think that's pretty good. I like how the shops look, all of that. It really just looks like a more updated version of the first game, and I like that. I think that's good. I think that just, the overall improvements in that area are good. Then second up, I liked having familiarity with the world from playing game 1. I thought that was valuable too. So, for instance, their world of having the mods. The first game, when I first played it, I was a little confused because I didn't quite understand that at first. But having that kind of backlog of information in here, it was like, okay, cool, I kind of know how this game goes. Similarly to, like, when I played Emily is Away, and then I played Emily is Away 2, I was like, okay, cool. These AIM conversations, these are kind of how they go. Here's sort of the rhythm of the game. I feel like in Headliner, the first time it maybe went 10 days instead of 14. But I felt like I had kind of a rhythm. It's going to go a certain amount of days. This is what people are like. I'm going to walk down the street and see the results of my articles, like those kinds of things. So I thought that familiarity was good. If you haven't played either of these games, I would recommend playing the first one before playing this one, just to be able to appreciate these advances and stuff like that. And then last up, I think that adding characters with branching paths was a really great move. So in the first game, your characters were basically, you had your boss who told you what to do, but they weren't particularly involved. And then you had your family, your spouse and your child, and they were involved with what you did some, and they had opinions on it, but it wasn't the same. You wouldn't run into them on the street or anything like this. So having your variety of relationships here, I thought were cool. So you have your coworker who is having health issues and is also foreign, and then you've got your brother who has his own mental health issues, as well as trying to figure out work, things like that. And then lastly, you've got just a local store owner who's trying to figure out how to work in this climate. I think that was a really good couple ads, because what you do does affect each of them differently. I think that if I would have talked with Rudy more, I probably would have felt worse about some of the decisions I made. The decisions I made were probably the ones I would have made no matter what, but they did also kind of coincide with helping Evie or helping Justin. So, Evie at the end comments, wow, this country is so accepting of foreign people. I think you had something to do with that. Thank you. I'm glad that I get to live here in this state, kind of thing, which was cool. Or for Justin, I advocated for mental health funding, things like that, and he was like, I've been able to get some of the medication I need. I'm really like thankful for that, or that sort of thing. So I thought that was interesting, and seeing how you could play them, because also you had options that I didn't choose. So you could be like mean to Evie and just be like, well, I hope your visa gets renewed, I guess. Whatever. Like, I don't know if we need you. Like, you could go that kind of route. Or for your brother, you could go the route of like, well, you should just grow up, man, kind of thing. So you had kind of options like that, which I didn't do, but I think that it's a good idea for the kind of range you could do here. And then also introducing the mysterious man who was giving you info about the government. That was cool. That could seem like conspiracy theories potentially, or be true. In this case, it seemed like they were true. Or even the government agent and like administrative information taking over the paper, like stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. And so, yeah, I guess those are my general thoughts. All in all, I did mention this off top, but this really very much so to me feels like that transition of Emily is away, and then Emily is away too. That jump, because I think Emily is Away 2 is a great game. I'm a huge fan of it, and I liked Emily is Away, certainly enough to play the second game, but the second one just had such a boost that I really liked, and I would say that this one is similar, that its boost is strong, and takes a game that was pretty good already and just improves it, and makes it better. So, yeah, that's what I've got. Highly recommend checking out the Headliner series. Both of these are fun games, and I don't know, just a fun kind of it's not quite a sim, but it's sort of a take on like a sim game meets a choice-based game sort of thing, and you kind of getting to see it happen. Playthroughs are pretty fast too. I think it took maybe 2 hours, so not too long. But yeah, that is Headliner NoviNews. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do that on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website is TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. There, I've got a post with the itch.io games from the bundle that we've covered with links to our episodes. Also, a bunch of other episodes on other games are all there too, so feel free to check that out. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. When you do that, that will give you access, for as little as $1 per month, that will give you access to topical episodes we release monthly. We talked about things like our favorite Pokemon, our favorite video game franchises. We talked about fantasy football one time, stuff like that. So they've got kind of a range of things there. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, check that out. If you'd like to just support the podcast by helping get the word out, that would be great. Feel free to just post things or whatever. That'd be cool. But also you could do that by reviewing the podcast on Podchaser or on Apple Podcast. Those we'd super appreciate, and just helping get the podcast more available to people and get to enjoy these kinds of games together. And I guess that's the episode, and we'll see you next time.